Hello friends. Today we're going to talk about INFJ crushes. So many people have asked me about this and you're like, Christine, we won. Yes, you won. So here's what we're going to cover today. Here's the rundown. Are you ready? First off, we're going to talk about the stages of an INFJ crush, the conflicting signs of an INFJ crush, including friend-zoning, ghosting, and long periods of time passing without you hearing anything from your INFJ crush. 3, how INFJs act in the presence of their crush. 4, how an INFJ thinks about crushes. 5, the types of people INFJs typically crush on. And number 6, signs that an INFJ is not crushing on you. Whew, that's a lot. So if any of that sounds helpful. All right, now I'm not sitting on a pine cone, so that's a good step. Do you like these notes? Okay, let's talk about the stages of an INFJ crush. So, first of all, here's how it kind of goes in a typical INFJ fashion. The first thing that I find usually happens is there's some sort of initial attraction. There's some moment that you share with this person, right? For example, you're in the ice cream line at a potluck and they spill their rainbow sprinkles on your mint chip and you make a joke about it, and then you have an exchange and you make eye contact and it's this moment and you laugh together and then you leave and you think, oh, this person, they're so cool. I really don't know where that came from. But there's usually some sort of moment, some sort of interaction, some sort of connection that sparks the beginning of an INFJ crush. So that's stage 1. Stage 2 is that they will go home and analyze this thing to death. They will think about every aspect of the person's personality. They will immediately Myers-Briggs type the person that they have a crush on. They will try to get to know every detail that they can about them. And they'll just go into this information gathering mode. Stage 3, and this will depend completely on your INFJ if they ever get to this stage, but stage 3 is that they'll consider some sort of action. After all the research, is this person worth pursuing? And if they think it is, they'll start small. They'll connect with their crush in some way. It might be a text. It might be discreetly trying to spend as much time around this person as possible. It'll be some action that they take in order to connect with them. Now, I want you to understand something. It might be minuscule. I think a lot of times their advances towards somebody they like would just look like wanting to get to know them better as friends, casually texting them. These things that a lot of other people do, INFJs don't typically do. They don't typically text people just for the fun of it. At least I don't. I have like 3 people in the thousands of people I've met in my life that I actually text for fun. If it's not one of those 3 people, it's the person that I have a crush on. Now, of course, there's exceptions, but generally speaking, if an INFJ is reaching out to you, to text you, to connect with you, to spend time with you, this is kind of the 3rd stage of the INFJ crush, and a very good sign that they like you. So those are the stages of an INFJ crush. Let us move on to the conflicting signs of an INFJ crush. This is what probably most of you want to know because you're like, Christine, this INFJ thing, they're just absolutely insane. Well, you're not wrong. So here's the thing. Let's start with friend zoning. Here's what I do if I have a crush on somebody that I really don't think, whether logistically or if we don't live in the same space or there's some family issue or some big barrier that I know is impassable, this is what I do for this kind of crush. Now, it doesn't mean I don't have a crush on the person, but I will say things that will lead the person to believe that I want to be their friend, which is true. I do want to be their friend, but also have a crush on them in the process. What does this actually look like? For me, it looks like texting them. It usually involves some sort of playful banter. Now, I'm just a really playful person in general. I actually think I'm more playful than most INFJs, but especially somebody I like, I'm gonna be really playful with them, probably a little bit sassy, and just have fun. Right? Try to gauge kind of who they are, if they have a sense of humor, if we can connect in that way. I remember this one guy I liked. I was like, hey, have you run 10 miles this week? And he was somebody I almost never saw. And I knew he didn't run a lot, but I know he liked running. So I just kind of gave him like a hard time about that, right? Like things like that are going to be extremely good signs because it's the INFJ making an effort to connect with you, even though, this is my teacher pointer right here, even though it seems like they're friend zoning you. Now, I've even said things like, oh, you look good with that girl, or like encourage them to actually be with another person. You're like, Christine, like, That's insane. Well, maybe it is, but if you know it's never gonna work out with the person, it's kind of like this compromise, like, oh, I can still connect with them, I can still be around them, but I'm putting them in this friend zone because I know ultimately it's not gonna work. All right, let's talk about avoiding and ghosting. I think this happens more when you're younger. So if you're like under, let's say, 21, I think this is gonna happen more simply because the INFJs are more prone to get stuck in that analytical space. And instead of taking any action or interacting with you at all, they're just gonna be stuck in these gears of their mind trying to overanalyze whether this is even something that could work or they wanna pursue. And therefore, you're not gonna hear from them. You're not gonna see them. They're gonna be in the room overthinking it instead of talking to you or texting you, right? So I would say that's generally more of a younger INFJ thing, but it can certainly happen if you're older as well. And then let's talk about the third aspect of this, which is long periods of time passing without you hearing from them. I would say that can be bad, but it's not necessarily bad. For example, if your INFJ genuinely likes you, if you don't hear from them or if it's crickets for a while, just let it ride out a little bit, because chances are the INFJ is still in that processing phase. They're still trying to figure out, is this gonna work? Are we compatible? They think through these things much more than other personality types at the offset. I think other personalities are like, oh, let me dive in and then see if it works out later. INFJs are gonna be like, no, let me psychoanalyze this entire personality before I even start. And then they'll decide, is this worth it or not? So if you've had a long period of time where you haven't heard from them, it's not necessarily bad. However, I would say it's bad if you have contacted them and reached out and they haven't responded at all. Unless they're dealing with like a flat tire or their parrot dies and they have a funeral for it. You know what I'm saying? Oh man, I'm really coming up with some interesting analogies today. Anyways, point being, they will text you. They're not going to ghost you entirely if they care about you. So one last thing I'll say with that, I feel like INFJs just have these seasons where they just have to recover from life. They just step outside all their responsibilities, even outside of these feelings, because feelings are so intense for an INFJ, just so consuming, that it's almost like they have to push a button and be like, okay, yeah, I'll deal with you later. And they kind of block. They're really good at this. I'm actually super good at this. It's funny, people say that women can't compartmentalize. That is not true. I am actually incredibly good at compartmentalizing when I want to. Actually, probably far too good at it because I just like shut everything out and I'm like, this is so nice, just pretending to live in a world where it's all sunlight all the time. The point is, they can shut off. INFJs are interesting in this sense. It's going to take a lot of discernment and wisdom with your specific INFJ to know this. All right. Number 3, how an INFJ... Whoops, that's the wrong one. How INFJs act in the presence of their crush. Number 3. Okay, so most of you probably really want to know this. So here's what I'm going to say. For me, and this is just me, it depends on the boy. All right, I'm going to give you a profound secret right now. I really don't want to do this, but this is in the effort of transparency and honesty and helping you survive the mental breakdown you're going through, because I know you don't know what this INFJ is thinking. So, when I like somebody, I will adapt myself to who they are. I don't change myself. I don't become like them, but I speak their language. For example, if a guy I like is really silly, if he's playful, if he's sarcastic, I will in turn speak that language to him to connect with him in that way. If a guy I like is more deep, more quiet, more thoughtful, more intellectual like, I will sit down and talk to him more on that level. Or for example, if I like somebody that has a really specific passion for a hobby, say like videography, I'll be like, dude, tell me about your latest video project. I want to understand what you're doing here. What I'm saying is, an INFJ is so intuitive and so perceptive on how to connect with people. They're able to process what type of person this is and then speak their language in a way that they understand will connect with that person. And this is why so many people like INFJs. You speak my language. You understand me. The INFJ is like the universal adapter. They fit with almost anyone if they want to. Now, will they always like it? No, but they'll hide it really well. I really hope that this is not getting too hot. Like if my camera burns out, that wouldn't be good. So that in itself, adaptation to who you are, if they like somebody, is a huge part of how they act in the presence of their crush. They will automatically mirror you. And I'm not saying they'll do exactly the same things that you'll do, but again, they're going to speak your language and they're going to try to understand what makes you tick and what you love, and then emulate that in their own interactions with you. I would say in general, just another good sign of how they're acting with you is probably just being playful, trying to connect with you on more than a factual level. It's more of like, hey, I'm a fun person, I think you're a fun person, let's just have fun together. Because, that's cool. All right, number 4. How an INFJ thinks about crushes. I feel like I'm gonna sneeze. Oh, I hate that feeling when you want to sneeze but you can't. So let's talk about how an INFJ thinks about crushes. I saw this one meme one time where an INFJ, how they think about crushes was that they grab their head, say no, 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 and sink against the wall. I think that's pretty accurate. In one sense, there's this elated feeling to it, and it's very gripping and powerful, but there's another sense to it that it's so intense that the INFJ is like, I just, there's no other energy in my life for anything else than to try to process this crush, and it's just hard. It's just hard. It's not easy. I will say, as I've gotten older, it's been easier to compartmentalize. I think when I was like 15, 16, 17, it was like the biggest thing in the world, whatever happened with my crush, but now it's just like, it is what it is, and I have so many more purposeful things in my life and things that I pursue and things that I love that it's like, take it or leave it. Oh my goodness, this is so warm. I might have to let this cool down for like a minute. All right, I had to let my camera cool down. I hope this is okay. That's a little bit about how INFJs act in the presence of their crushes. And number 5 is the types of people INFJs typically crush on. Okay, so this one could be really fun. Let's start off by saying that it's probably not who you think it is. Let's just say that at the offset, because INFJs have a way of choosing people that other people would not see them with. For example, INFJs are pretty intelligent. They oftentimes enjoy art, creativity, and I would say in general people just respect them, right? They might go for the craziest, insanest, off-the-wall, super silly person. They might be totally enamored with them. For example, an ENFP, right? ENFPs are mildly insane, and INFJs think they're so much fun, right? So let me just first say, it's probably not going to be somebody typical, and people aren't probably going to say, oh, they would look so cute together, they're the perfect couple, everybody saw it coming. No, you're not going to see it coming, and it's not going to be typical, because normally INFJs despise the thought of having a typical relationship, and they want something totally new, totally exciting, outside of the bounds of anything that anybody's ever done before. Maybe not quite that extreme, but you know what I'm saying. And they're looking for unique. How does this manifest itself? It could look like extreme personality differences. It could look like somebody 10 years older, 10 years younger. It could look like somebody who is from a completely different culture. It could just look like somebody that you never saw them with, right? And I think that this is one thing that, if you're wondering if an INFJ has a crush on you or somebody you know, but you're thinking, oh, that can never be, like that person would never like that person, well, think again, because I think oftentimes INFJs go for the person that's most out of their reach, outside of the box of something normal. For me personally, I've almost always done this. Almost always. Whether it's like a different cultural background, totally different personality type. I've always been attracted to younger guys. I've almost always exclusively dated guys that are younger than me. It's just normal for me. Why? Because I think outside of the box, and who I connect with is generally really playful people. People that like to have fun, explore, the adventurers in this world, right? And those aren't typically 35-year-old executives. No, what are they, they're 20-year-old boys that I just have fun with, right? We explore and play and have a great time in this world. So I think those are some of the types of people that INFJs crush on. I would just say, if you like an INFJ and you're seeing some of these barriers, or like, oh, Christine, I'm too old for them, or I'm too young for them, or I'm too out there for them, think again, because maybe that very barrier that you're thinking is a barrier is actually what the INFJ values most about you. Oh, I don't know how teachers do it all day. My voice is already going. Number 6, signs that an INFJ is not crushing on you. All right, this is going to be maybe the most clear way you can tell if an INFJ likes you is not by what they do, but by what they don't do. So here's gonna be some signs that they don't like you. Texting. If you text them and they don't respond that day or don't respond the next day, that is not a great sign. I have always disliked texting to some extent, but I will always, 100% of the time, unless somebody's dying, respond to the person that I have a crush on. And typically within the day or within an hour or two if I see it on my phone. So that's a huge sign if they do not respond to you or do not communicate back to you when you communicate with them. The second sign that they do not like you, and maybe this is a little bit odd, is if they're extremely comfortable around you. For example, if they come over to your house in sweatpants, kind of lazy, they're just lounging around, that's not a good sign, because INFJs are such thinkers that, especially in the early stages of a crush, when both parties are kind of uncertain, they're not going to feel comfortable around you, and they might do a good job faking it, but you can only fake it so much. You can only hide your nervousness so much, right? So if they're just super chill and just seem like, oh yeah, it's just another day in the neighborhood, this isn't a great sign, because they're likely thinking of you as either just a friend or somebody they're just hanging out with, and they don't have those romantic feelings for you. And here's the biggest thing, like, if you've heard nothing else in this video, here's the thing I want to say above everything else. Most INFJs, their love language is quality time. For me, if I spend time with somebody, that is a huge gift. I will not just give that to anybody. If you like an INFJ, and if they are spending quality time with you, that is probably the best sign that you can have that they actually care about you and that they really do like you. If an INFJ, on the other hand, never responds to you, doesn't communicate with you, avoids spending time with you, that's probably the clearest sign also that you can have that they are not interested in you romantically. Because ultimately, where we put our time, that's what we value, right? And the people that I've cared about, I've spent enormous amounts of time with them. Now, sometimes this isn't possible. I know you're gonna be like, Christine, the person I like lives another state from me, or like, it's not possible to see them a lot. How do I know? Well, they're gonna still give you their time. And what do I mean by that? They're still gonna text you. They're still gonna connect with you. Every once in a while, they're still gonna come to that event that you have planned because they actually care. And I just wanna say one last thing here. Like, ultimately, don't put all of your hope in this person. You might think they're cool, you might think they're a great human, you know, maybe they are. But ultimately, if you put all of your hope in them, if you put 100% of your hope in them, they are going to let you down. Like, it's just gonna happen. They're human. They're not infallible. Ultimately, do what you can, try to connect with them, and if it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. God's in control, you just have to trust that, right? And trust that what is meant to be will be, and what is not meant to be also will not be. I think that's it. Wow. Found this old tree root ball back here. I just thought it was really cool. Not gonna lie, probably gonna ruin these clothes, but I sincerely hope that this video isn't 3 hours long. If it is, it might be the last video that I ever make. I'm just kidding. I'm kind of, not really. I have pine cone marks on my legs right now because I've been sitting in a pile of leaves. It's been great. I know what so many of you are gonna say. You're gonna be like, Christine, it's been 5,000 years since you posted a video. Well, you're not wrong, but I've been working on this other YouTube channel and I've been putting like all my energy into it, and it's been really fun for me. I just like to do things that are fun for me. And as much as I appreciate Myers-Briggs and personality types and stuff, you know, it's extremely, extremely, extremely small percentage of my life. So I've just been having fun making videos about other things right now. Does that make sense? Maybe not.